So, if you've ever felt like you're just stuck on that hamster wheel of self improvement, always trying to fix yourself, always trying to heal something, then you really need to hear this. We're about to dive into an idea that suggests this whole frantic search is based on one single fundamental misunderstanding. Let's get right into it. This right here, this is the whole idea we're unpacking today. It's kind of a paradox, isn't it? That feeling of being lost or broken or flawed, it's not actually a problem that needs to be solved. It's just a case of mistaken identity. So what exactly are we getting wrong? Well, it all starts with the most basic, fundamental assumption we have, our sense of I. We're going to tackle this myth of a central doer. The idea that there's some little CEO in our heads pulling all the levers and making all the decisions. And look, this feels completely true in our day-to-day lives, right? We take all the credit for our wins and all the blame for our failures. I did this. I messed that up. This feeling of being the one in charge, the agent responsible for everything, is incredibly powerful. But what if? What if that feeling is just an illusion? We think we're the doer, but the argument here is that reality is, well, it's totally different. Actions, emotions, even our thoughts, they're all just automatic processes. This actually lines up with some pretty interesting neuroscience, which shows that the brain activity for an action often starts before we're even consciously aware of deciding to do it. So these things aren't being done by you, they're simply happening through you, just arising on their own like patterns in the weather. So here's the big twist. That feeling of I isn't the cause of the action at all. It's just a story, a label that we stick on it after it's already happened. Your body and mind do something automatically, and then a split second later, the thought, I did that, shows up to take the credit or the blame. Okay, so if the I is just a label that shows up late to the party, what does that mean for a big spiritual goal like awakening? Well, it completely reframes the whole thing. It's no longer some future destination you have to struggle to reach, but just a simple recognition that's available to you right now. Just think about it for a second. When you hear that word, what comes to mind? Flashes of light, seeing the source of the entire universe, maybe achieving some state of permanent, unshakable bliss. A lot of us have these really grand, epic ideas about it. But the argument here is that awakening isn't about some huge, mystical, fireworks in the sky experience. The actual turning point is way more subtle, way more down to earth. It's simply when you stop taking personal ownership of all your automatic reactions. So anger might arise, but you no longer jump to, I am angry. You just see it for what it is, an impersonal event that's just passing through. And when that becomes your stable, default way of seeing things, something pretty incredible happens. That desperate search for peak experiences, for validation, for some kind of proof that you're good or awake, it falls away. And why? Because you finally realize there's no central you that needed proving in the first place. Now, this leads us straight into the next big myth, and it's one that so many of us are deeply, deeply caught in, the trap of trying harder. If you've been on a path of personal growth for any amount of time, you've probably put in a ton of work. But what if all that effort was actually part of the problem? I mean, let's be real for a second. You've poured so much into this, haven't you? All those hours reading the books, sitting in meditation, journaling your thoughts. You have absolutely put in the work. That dedication is real. But here's the pivot. This quote is such a powerful reality check, because if sheer force of will was the answer, let's face it, your struggles would have ended a long, long time ago. So if more effort isn't the solution, what is? The issue was never your work ethic. It was the direction you were aiming it in. All that incredible energy was spent trying to manage and control that illusory I. It's kind of like jumping into a self-driving car, grabbing the steering wheel, and trying with all your might to steer a vehicle that's already driving itself perfectly. So, if trying harder isn't the answer, what is? Well, this brings us to this beautiful, totally counterintuitive idea that real clarity doesn't come from adding more techniques or more effort. It comes from taking things away. It's all about the power of subtraction. So the path forward isn't a to-do list, it's a to-stop doing list. Stop the nonstop mental commentary about what's happening. Stop the constant self-evaluation. For example, after you meditate, instead of judging if it was a good or bad session, just notice that the judgment itself is just another thought appearing. That's it. When you let go of all that extra mental activity, what's already here finally has a chance to reveal itself. And the most amazing thing is, you already know what the state feels like. Think about a time you were completely absorbed in learning something new, or you were just totally lost in a good book. In those moments, the self-commentary just vanishes. You weren't trying to be present, you just were. That clarity, that stability, it doesn't come from doing something right. It comes from having stopped doing something unnecessary. Okay, but before we get carried away, we need a serious dose of reality here. This shift in perspective is not a magic wand, and it's really important to be crystal clear about what this does. And, more importantly, what it does not promise. So let's be super explicit. Desires are still gonna pop up. Your emotions are still gonna fluctuate. That's just what emotions do. And life is absolutely going to continue to throw challenges and difficulties your way. This is not about becoming some detached robot or trying to escape the messy, beautiful human experience. So, here it is. Here is the one single guarantee. All those experiences will continue to appear. Thoughts, feelings, life challenges, but you no longer have to become their bearer. Sadness can arise without you having to become a sad person. A desire can show up without you having to become its slave. These things can pass right through you, but you don't have to carry them anymore. And all of this brings us to our conclusion, and to a new, profoundly liberating definition of what freedom actually is. And, spoiler alert, it's not what most of us have been taught to believe it is. So true freedom, it isn't about controlling your life or always getting exactly what you want. It's so much simpler than that. It's when life happens in all of its color and messiness and intensity, but there's no longer a you standing in the middle of it all, forced to bear the weight of it. And that shift is it's profound. You go from seeing life as this complicated, stressful performance with you at the center of the stage, needing to manage everything, to recognizing that it's all just a simple, effortless, self-running system. The struggle was never with life itself. The struggle was with the imagined director you thought you had to be. And so we'll end on this thought. The entire journey, that whole frantic search for some future destination called enlightenment or wholeness, that was the very thing keeping you from seeing that you were already there. There was never anywhere to go, and there was no one who needed fixing. You have never left here.